Hi Aries, welcome to your mid-June 2018 tarot update. It's Raina here. The reason that I have the cards already laid out is because I'm starting the reading over again. There was heavy machinery. I sat down to do it again, and wouldn't you know it, there's more noise out there, but I think it's further down, so hopefully you can't hear this. This deck that I'm using is called the Druid Craft Tarot Deck, in case you were interested. And as the card for the kind of the overall message is interesting because they even label the major arcana sometimes differently, and they call it, instead of the Wheel of Fortune, they just say the wheel. And I have to say that I really appreciate that, and I also think it's a beautiful illustration, because a lot of times when I say the phrase Wheel of Fortune, I think of Vanna White. And I'm not even joking. I think of this game show where people are trying to have good things happen to them. And maybe that is what life is, that you're trying to have good things happen to you, but there's this element of chance. And I think that calling it the wheel means that there are cycles in life. The fact that this card is in the upright position means that you are clicking into a great cycle. Okay, and if we looked at it astrologically, we could say, well, Uranus has left your sign, and Uranus may have been a disruptive influence. But you know, Uranus probably brought you some unexpected good stuff too. It's not just going to be a negative influence. And I think actually an Aries person may have enjoyed having Uranus in their sign. Not sure, but I certainly wouldn't mind it in my sign of Sagittarius. So anyway, the point being that you may feel like things are going your way. However, I always like to bring it to a higher level, because sometimes I notice people write comments when a reader or an astrologer says, yeah, you're going to have Jupiter in your sign, and or Saturn is leaving your sign, and they write, oh, thank God. I had to just go through 10 years of hell. I'm hoping for better days. And my first thought when I read a comment like that is, it isn't the transit. It's really about you. It's about your mindset. It's not the transit. Don't use the transits or use the cards as an excuse for what is happening in your life. The wheel is something that you could even say the wheel of birth and death, if you want to get Buddhist about it. And, by nature of living a material existence, we are subject to change. We are subject to things happening to us that we might possibly describe sometimes as suffering. The problem is that if you are so hell-bent on having only bright, shiny moments in life, and if you can't handle having a rainstorm once in a while, that's on you, because you're dualistic in your thinking. I didn't realize I was going to be this Buddhist today, but it's true. I mean, there are so many people that if the weather isn't perfect, they won't go outside or they won't do anything outside. I always notice when it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit, very hot in other words, that the streets are like empty and everyone is in air conditioning. And I'm like, wow, everything is so quiet. And it's because it's 90 degrees. And yet these are the same people complaining when it's 10 degrees out or 50 degrees out because it's too cold. They can only accept a certain range of temperatures, or else they won't participate in life. They'll just stay inside. And I live in Chicago. I live in the Chicago area, I should say, not actually literally in Chicago. But the temperatures are, the weather is just crazy, Not all of the time, but there's so many different types of weather that we have. We have extreme weather sometimes. And, but that's the thing. That's that person's mentality, or those people's mentality, that they can only accept certain things. The wheel, in your case, in this particular reading, is probably going to mean, Aries, that good things are happening to you. And, you know, I was going to say accept them or bask in them, but just realize, don't cling to the happy experiences either. Because then if something happens that you don't want, then it's the end of the world. No, it's not. And I think most Aries people are not like that. But I feel like, you know, you are going to have good things happen to you probably. It's just a matter of understanding that this is a cycle. And maybe this, I feel like there's a real kind of a work vibe or a money vibe in this particular reading. We have for the past influence affecting the situation, the Seven of Pentacles. And, oh, what is he doing? Maybe the booklet explains more of that. But the Seven of Pentacles is a card of kind of assessing your growth. Assessing what you have put into a situation and what your expectations are to see if it's worthwhile. Okay, now, because I've gotten other cards here that are pentacles, like the Queen of Pentacles, for instance, or the King of Pentacles, this could be something that you have in terms of a business, Aries, where maybe you've invested time into something and you've kind of put in the man hours and you're trying to see if it works out, okay? And it's, let me see this card, because this is more of the spiritual lesson to understand in this, the higher message, the King of Pentacles. This is, to me, showing that you have a lot of power in this area. So even if you're someone who is kind of unsure of yourself, you started a business, maybe, and this doesn't have to be your main source of income. That's an important point to know. Maybe there's something that you've started and maybe you haven't even sold anything yet, but it's an idea that you have been stoking, what's the word, that you've been kind of stoking the flames on, putting some mental effort, maybe researching or getting it started, and you are, I think it might be due to impatience of Aries, that you want to see instant results. And the Seven of Pentacles is about patience in the long haul. The King of Pentacles is saying that you have what it takes to be the master of your own domain. And I'm not, I know that's something with Seinfeld. I didn't watch Seinfeld, but I know about that reference. But really, that you are someone who is able to work for yourself, be prosperous, and have that sense of material power in your life. Maybe this message is important for those who are not quite there yet, because the wheel is this thing that's constantly turning. And sometimes you have an upswing and sometimes things are not so great. So if you have a business that you've had for a while and you've been noticing a downswing, the wheel is showing that you're on the upswing. And it's not about shooting straight to the top. Like, I find this analogy very helpful, and I didn't invent this. That they're talking, I think, about spiritual evolution, and they say it's not like in a circle or like in a straight line going from the bottom to the top. It's in a spiral. And so it's always going outward. It's like expansion. It's always expanding. And so maybe there are times when if you have a business and it's slow, you still are expanding your clientele base, or you're spreading word on the fact that you exist. And you may not see it in terms of the profits, but you are growing. You just have to look at it from a bigger perspective. Okay. What crosses you is represented by the Queen of Pentacles. So this can be an attitude of excessive materialism. This can be somebody who is judging everything by dollars and cents that they've earned. I remember working in a store. I was working in a health food store for a few years. And after every day, the boss would look at the tally, and it would be thousands of dollars sometimes, shake her head, because it wasn't as good as it was on a previous occasion. And I could never understand that. And then when I started to have my own business, I totally got that, because I think it's the nature of us as souls that we are always looking for expansion. So there's nothing wrong with this desire to better oneself and to always improve on what you have. But the Queen of Pentacles can take it to the extreme when it comes to greed, when it comes to unnecessary materialism, buying things that you don't really need, that you can't use, that just sit there collecting dust. Why do people do this? They do it because they don't know how not to do it. They don't know what really to value in life. And so they value things that are affected, that are tangible, because they're really lacking on the spiritual side of things. So they kind of overfocus, hyperfocus on the physical. And sometimes, for some of you, this can be, I think that this might even be more along the lines of being wasteful. Okay, I think I kind of alluded to that. But also, they call it putting on airs. So buying unnecessary things to make other people think that you're successful. And how that wastes your money that you could be using to invest in your business, or just to stay afloat for another month if you've got expenditures. Even if this is, let's say this is some kind of an office, and you are being overly wasteful in trying to make this place so, top notch, instead of having like a humble place that does what it's intended to do, but is not, you're not trying to impress everybody right off the bat. You're just trying to get things off the ground. But this can be in your private life too. Speaking of your private life, there may be a relationship that you have been dealing with that involves somebody who has a lot of earth in them. And it's possible that you've even met them at work. And if there's any kind of chance that they are involved with somebody else, then that is keeping you from being involved with them. The King of Pentacles could actually be your boss. Now, the earth signs themselves are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Capricorn and Aries tend to gravitate towards one another because they're both cardinal signs. They both are ambitious and energetic in their own ways, and, driven in their own ways. And we shall see if that is a good match. Typically with fire and earth, it's a good match for business endeavors. And so you may find that these people meet at work because they're both, in it for that reason. But sometimes the Aries person will not be interested in this individual in the long haul because they feel that they are too boring, too dry, not exciting enough for their own interests. And the earth sign will find that the Aries person may be irresponsible, may be lacking follow through. And they might feel that the Aries person is immature. So it's not saying that it can't work, because I'm just focusing on the two archetypes of the sun signs. I'm talking about what the problems can sometimes be in those types of relationships. What is coming in is represented by the Two of Swords. So this is a card of the choice, the crossroads, which path to take. And they even have it as a literal path. But with swords, we're talking about thoughts. So really, it boils down to your thoughts. People make choices all the time based on scarcity consciousness, not based on the reality of the situation, but on fears that they have. And sometimes they live to regret those choices. The Two of Swords can indicate being in an impasse, that you feel like you can't make the decision. You literally can't. Perhaps another person is involved, or you have to think of a child and it's not as easy as it looks, or that you are the one being controlled by somebody else's choice that they're refusing to make. Again, I reference being involved with somebody who is involved with somebody. The Queen of Pentacles could be that other person that your love interest is with. And to you, you see them as an obstacle for you to get what you want. But you can also choose to look at that a different way. And it's possible that it's more along the lines of this person has to be dealt with, that this person is not going anywhere. Could be the mother of your love interest child, and they're not going anywhere because until the child is 18, and maybe not even then. They'll probably be at functions together. So it's about integration, not about alienation. The outcome is the Princess of Swords, which connects to the Page of Swords. The Princess or Page of Swords can be a message that is received. Perhaps this is in the form of someone giving you wonderful business advice. Maybe it is something that you read online that makes you aware of what this King of Pentacles is really up to. And then you realize, I invested all my time in this, and this person's been playing me. I mean, please. And then the decision's easy to make. So the Page of Swords, you can even be doing the sleuthing. This is a card of the spy. You could be the one that is finally trying to ferret out the truth. But I go back to the wheel, Aries, because I want to say one more thing, and I'm not even focusing on the fact of this is upright or reversed, is, do you have patterns that keep seeming to repeat themselves in your life? It could be gravitating towards partners who are already committed. It could be, and why, and asking yourself, why does this keep happening? Is it just a sheer coincidence? Or is there something going on with me energetically that naturally attracts that sort of person into my reality? Do I have any control over my destiny, or am I a victim of fate? 100%. It could be that, if that is the case, it could be that you are afraid of getting close to somebody because you don't want to lose your freedom. If you're with a married man, you're not going to see them very much. You may see them at very odd hours, and you'll have all the time in the world to do your own thing. Maybe it allows you to be in more than one relationship at a time. And it gives you the illusion of a relationship without all of the icky stuff that involves sharing the part of yourself, the shadow side. Having other people see your shadow side and not just presenting the best version of yourself. Whatever that entails. Feeling a sense of being entrapped, imprisoned in this relationship. But this could also be, this wheel could be about how do you sabotage your best efforts? Do you always quit right when you're about to make it because you're too impatient? Do you lack follow-through? All of these exercises in self-inquiry are not meant to make you feel bad about yourself. They're meant to get you to stop the patterns. The wheel of life itself continues to turn, but we don't have to have these, vicious circles going on. We can stop those patterns with awareness for sure, and taking different action. Okay, Aries, I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a more personalized reading based on your natal chart, please peruse my offerings at rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.